Okay, so Matthew 4:24 says, news about him spread all over Syria. News about him is Jesus. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them. That's Matthew 4:24. Now, the episode is called Matthew 4:24, and it's very interesting. So I got a lot to talk about with this episode. So, when this episode first aired, I'll never forget it. Episode 2 of Season 2 aired, and after it was done, streaming for the first time live, Dallas Jenkins, the creator of the show, usually does, he usually talks about funding of the show, future seasons, future episodes, gifts from the store, discounts that we can get, all that stuff. And I usually turn it off halfway through. Sorry, Dallas. But, I was tired. It was late. But what I didn't realize was that, as a surprise, they had episode 3 ready to go, and they aired episode 3 shortly after that. So the next morning when I woke up, when I went to the Chosen app, I saw episode 3 was there, and I'm like, wait a minute, I missed that. And I went back to the live stream, and I realized they had streamed episode 3 shortly after. So I did not get to see it when it first aired. I saw it the next day. And I saw it, and I remember my original reaction to it. I wasn't that... Well, it's not that I wasn't interested. It's just this was one of those episodes where I just thought it, not a lot of stuff happens in this, and I wasn't too into it at first. So, doing these vlogs, I decided to watch it again, and you know what? There was a lot of stuff I missed the first time I saw this episode, because... And again, this is one of the shortest episodes I think they've ever done. This is... it's 36 minutes? It's a short one. And something else I never noticed, and if you go to the Chosen YouTube channel, they actually talk about this, and I think this might be on the DVD as well, and because I've heard Dallas Jenkins talk about this. The first 15 minutes of this episode is done in one shot. Now, I didn't notice that when I first saw it, but when he started talking about it, I thought, whoa, wait, let me go back and watch. And so this time I watched the episode with that in my head, and I realized, wow, we don't cut to an edit until at least 15 minutes into this thing, and that's half the episode. So, really impressive. Because one of the worries they were getting was they were worried that they were going to lose sunlight, and they can only do this in one take. Everybody's got to be on their mark. So a lot of rehearsal went into this episode, actually, at least for the first half. Because everybody's got to be on their mark. Like, the camera's moving, and these characters have to walk in, say their lines. These characters have to say their lines. These characters have to be doing this. Everybody has to walk to their mark, and nobody can screw up. Anybody screws up, not just cast, but crew also. If anybody screws up, wind it back, start all over again. Because Dallas wanted to do it in one take. Or not one take, one shot. I assume they did a couple takes. I doubt they got this done on the first try. But what's nerve-wracking about it is the fact that I think they did do this when the sun was going down. Because the sun's going down when this episode begins. And by the time we get to the campfire scene, when Mary shows up, it's dark. So let's talk about So I wanted to talk about that because I'm a big film nut, but let's talk about the episode. So, starts off with just like what Matthew 4:24 says. There's this long line of people that believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and Nathaniel has just joined the group, and Simon and Andrew have come to Jesus, and they say, a lot of people want to see you, and Jesus says, oh, that's great. So now, here's where everybody's coming to see Jesus. So everybody's lining up. And Matthew sees what's going on, and he starts talking to Philip. Now, Matthew is trying to get scriptures from Torah to help, to teach Mary Magdalene and Rama, because they want to study Torah. And, Philip has something, he has a scripture to tell Matthew. Now, I actually had to look this one up, because I didn't know which psalm it was. And I really like this because this is something... They've said this a couple times in this episode. It's Psalm 139. Here it is. Psalm 139, verse 8. If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. Now, Matthew doesn't understand this at first, but Philip tells him this, and Philip basically tells him that no matter where you are, God is always with you. God never leaves you. He never abandons you, no matter where you are. So, I thought, that's a little scary. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. I mean, it's comforting to know that God doesn't leave, but I don't want to make my bed in the depths. I don't want to do that. So I really like that. I really like that passage, actually, because they mentioned that in the episode, one of the Psalms of David, and I thought, well, which one? There's 150 of them, so I actually had to look up which Psalm it was. Okay, so that's going on, and we start having a lot of, and also, I didn't pick up on this originally, because this actually comes in later in the series, in season 3, and I'll get to this in time. There's a moment when Thaddeus and little James are going over to handle the crowd, because they don't want the crowd to go, out of control. So little James comes back, and he's having a conversation with Thomas, and little James looks around. Now, again, he's got a, I forget what he says he has, but he has some kind of disease in him, and he's looking at all these people who are diseased and saying, Jesus is healing them, but I'm one of his followers, and yet I'm not healed. So that has started at this point. That is going to play a major role in season 3. Okay, and it's funny, like, when I saw this episode again, like, a lot of things stuck out to me that I didn't see the first time. So when I saw that come up, I'm like, whoa, that's gonna come in later. That's good foreshadowing, actually. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, so that's going on. We have, it's pretty much, I'm really blown away by the camera work on this, because again, the first 15 minutes, it's very artistic, oh man, I'm really impressed with all the rehearsal that they did on this. It really is. That took a lot of rehearsal. Obviously, it shows. Yeah, so this episode is basically, in fact, you don't even see Jesus until the very end of this episode. We know he's healing people, but you don't see Jesus healing people. You see the long line of people, but you don't see Jesus actually healing them. I mean, he's there, but you don't see him until the very end of the episode, which is like the last 2 minutes. Most of this episode, in fact, this entire episode, are the, what are we up to? 10 disciples now? Yeah, it's the 10 apostles, Mary Magdalene and Mary, Jesus' mom. She comes to meet up with them. It's just them sitting around the campfire waiting for Jesus to come back when he's done healing everybody, and they're just having a conversation, getting to know each other, what they've done in their lives, who they were in their past life, what they used to do, and now that they're following Christ, who are they? What does this all mean? What's it all about? And, tensions rise up, and people tell stories, and it's really just them having a conversation around the campfire. They're trying to figure out, what is why did the Messiah call me? I was always told that the Messiah would lead us against the Romans, but I have no military training. I don't know why. And it's funny watching that, because I'm just, watching this episode, I'm just thinking, well, they have no idea. I mean, they have some idea. They believe he's the Messiah, but I don't think even they know what they are a part of. I don't think they get it. Like, this is so... And here's the thing. I don't fully understand it either, but these are the guys that were going through it, and they don't know. They have no idea what is coming. They have no idea. They don't get it. But that doesn't mean they can't get it. But again, but it's little things like that. Like, it's interesting watching the disciples having conversations of them trying to figure it out. It's interesting. It's very, like, again, I've never seen a show like this before. And I also like the conversation that Mary had. You know, Mary, Jesus' mom, Mary, she meets up with them. She meets Matthew for the first time. She meets, she says hi to everybody. And she starts talking about when she first had Jesus, when she was a teenager in Bethlehem. And she starts talking about that. And that was really good. I really liked the scene. I forget, I'm sorry, I don't remember the actress's name who plays Mary, but she is phenomenal as Mary. Everybody is. Everybody is just so good in this show. And then we cut to something that has been building up, especially from the last episode between Simon and Matthew. Simon has a hard time forgiving him. He doesn't want to forgive Matthew. He's angry at him. He lets it all out. And, John is standing up to Simon. He's telling him, he's going, who are you to say who you can forgive or not to forgive? And again, I don't remember the whole conversation, but it's really good. And the acting is just so good. And I love where this story is going. And it's, and I can't wait to see where it's gonna go. Because we only have 3 seasons that exist right now in this series at the time this is being recorded. I mean, they start filming season 4 later this year, and we're going up to. I think Dallas said he wants to do 7 seasons. So, if you've read the New Testament, you know how this story ends. But it's interesting, like, with the conversations that the apostles have, it's very interesting to see how it plays out the way these characters are written. You know what I mean? Like, I can't describe it. It's very interesting. So they're about to go at it, Simon and Simon and Matthew. And, so the disciples are starting, they go from having a nice conversation to getting angry at each other. And then Jesus comes in and he is tired. He looks bad. And he just walks past them, and the only thing he says to them is good night and just leaves. And Mary decides to go and help him, because it cuts back to what she was saying, about when she first had him. When she was a teenager, she said, I couldn't believe it. Like, is this really the Son of God? What the angel told me? This is the Son of God? And she just said that, he was crying, and as a mom, he needed my help. Me. And there's this look on her face when she sees her son, and he's 30 now, but still, he's still her son. She looks at him and she goes, he needs my help. He needs my help. He's tired. He looks worn out. I'm going to go help him. And she decides to go help him out, and all the disciples look around at each other, and they look at him, and Jesus goes to sleep in the tent, and that's the episode. That's the end of the episode. I mean, like, again, when I first saw this episode, I just remember saying, well, not much really happened here. There was a lot that I missed in the first time I saw it, so I'm glad I watched it again for this vlog. Because, there are some chosen episodes when I first saw them that really stuck out to me, and I've watched them repeatedly. And there's some episodes that I saw maybe once or twice, because I'm like, there wasn't much in this for me. But no, I mean, like, it really did deserve a second viewing. I mean, I viewed this episode more than 2 times, obviously. I just don't watch it as often as, let's say, other episodes. But from a technological view, really like it. That first half is amazing. Because I've seen movies that have shots that go on for a few minutes. This went on for like 15 minutes. I'm pretty sure the first half of this episode is all done in one shot. I'm pretty sure it is. So I really love that. I love the conversations that the disciples are having. They're all getting to know each other. They're trying to understand what they're here for, why Jesus chose them. And just, it's great, and people are starting to believe, there's a long line of people lining up to be healed because they believe he's the Messiah, and it's It's really great. It's really great. And one of the other things was when I first saw that, because the title of this episode is Matthew 4:24. So when I first heard that, I'm like, I wonder what is that verse? And I looked it up, and I read that Bible. That's exactly what this episode is. People are lining up to be healed, and the disciples are having a conversation about it. That's it. That's the episode. So I really, again, I'm going to say this for every episode of The Chosen, I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this episode. I think the actors are great in this. I can't wait to see where it goes. And I will see you guys in the next Chosen vlog. That has one of the most powerful moments ever, and it's awesome. See you guys then.